The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We're moving on to some football discussion as there was some big news yesterday as the San Diego Chargers are no more. They're going to be moving to L.A. There's going to be two football teams in L.A. As Ryan was telling me, they're playing at the StubHub Center. Is that what you said it was called?
The StubHub Center, which is where the Los Angeles Galaxy Major League Soccer team plays, that has a capacity of 27,000.
27,000 for an NFL stadium.
And
the funny thing is they probably won't even fill that up.
And they're going to try to bump it. They said on Chargers game days they're going to bump it up to 30.
Okay, they're going to bump it up to 30. I guess they'll have 3,000 extra seats somewhere. So that'll be exciting.
I don't understand that. The owner said they weren't going to move to Los Angeles either last year or a couple of years ago, and then the Rams moved to Los Angeles. I don't get this move for the Chargers.
It doesn't make much sense.
If you're a Chargers fan, don't you feel betrayed? Because it's not like they've been a franchise that's been in San Diego for 10 years. They've been around a long time.
Yeah, they've been around since, the 60s?
I think 1960.
Yeah, so...
they've been around a long time, and... and it seemed to be very unpopular among people, and especially the fact that you're playing in a Major League Soccer stadium for an NFL. Why wouldn't you at least, get this a little more planned out, at least get a stadium built?
Right, at least
that can hold more than 30,000 people? I thought Soldier Field had a small and pathetic capacity at only 62,000.
Soldier Field holds the second least next to the Oakland Coliseum. The O.Co. Coliseum, as it's called now. It just doesn't seem right. It's hard to believe.
I feel like that literally is the definition of betraying a loyal fan base.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that they would rather have two teams in L.A. than one in San Diego and one in L.A. San Diego's a market. It's the market south of L.A. It's the, you got San Francisco market, you got the L.A. market, and you got the San Diego market. Those are three big markets. San Diego's the smallest one.
L.A. has...
But those are, big markets, and it's just hard to believe that the San Diego Chargers couldn't find a way to stay there. I think it'll make a lot of people upset, which it already has. They support the Padres.
The Padres
so it seems.
Voiced their disappointment.
So I don't understand it.
And another thing, in a few years, that L.A. is going to have 11 professional sports teams. And I don't feel like it's the biggest sports city. It's not like a Chicago or New York or Boston where the fans
are not like East
passionate.
Coast sports.
I feel for Dodgers games, people show up in the second or third inning and then leave after the seventh.
Right. So, the Dodgers are a mainstay, luckily.
I feel like, they have there are good fans over there. I just feel like, in general, it's not like a big sports market.
They come when they win, and they don't show up when they're not doing well.
Besides Lakers fans.
Right, besides Lakers fans. And you don't get that in Chicago and New York and Boston and Philadelphia and some of these other places.
Besides the White Sox, because
it seems
like White Sox fans have forgotten that they're a team.
Yeah,
anyways, that's correct.
That's another thing. It's crazy that Chicago can even support two baseball teams.
Right.
It's they do it in New York, and that's about it. So, and L.A. sort of has it.
Yeah,
so.
And I feel like L.A. is not the best market for two football teams. The only other... Really, for football, if you think about it, really, New York's probably one of the only markets that it could work in.
Right, and the Los Angeles Rams left L.A. There's already been a team that's left L.A. and moved to St. Louis, of all places, before making its way back. So it's just ridiculous. It's just going to be the cycle every 15 years. They're just going to be leaving cities, going to different cities. If you really want to put a football team somewhere, maybe put it in Las Vegas or something, because
that would be a great spot for a football
because
team.
You get the tourists that come. There's a lot of people that live in Las Vegas already, so
Vegas
kind of makes sense.
Vegas is honestly, I feel like it's a crime that they don't have any professional sports teams. I know they're getting
Except
a
for hockey.
Well, they don't have it yet. They're getting it next year.
Right, so they'll have hockey. I could see them having baseball, but I don't know if baseball's going to expand.
No, I don't think baseball needs to expand. Except I view this as just another failed PR move by the NFL. I mean, you don't need two teams in Los Angeles. They bombed there before, and now you've got two
Now you're
teams.
moving the Chargers there. How many people from San Diego are going to be driving up to L.A. to see a crappy team? I mean, not a lot. They're going to get less fans, or about the same amount than they got in San Diego.
Melvin Gordon said he isn't going to have played in front of that small of a crowd since high school.
True. Well, that's the case with a lot of these guys.
That really is embarrassing. I mean, like, you shouldn't be moving if you don't have a stadium that can at least house a decent amount of NFL fans.
Right, and you have the example of the Rams this year. People didn't really show up to the Rams games, maybe early in the year when they were still kind of hanging on. And then, the second half of the season, people didn't show up, and it's just kind of ridiculous that they think that it can support two football teams. They think it's going to, help revenue and help whatever. I don't know what Roger Goodell and the NFL think, but it doesn't seem like the right move, and you can tell by the fan response that it's just not.
Right. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks it's a good idea. And, I mean, really, they just kind of like abruptly decided to move. It's not like they had this planned a couple of years in advance that they wanted to do it this year.
Right.
It's just I feel like the NFL is pressuring. And, I mean, and after the Rams moved, no one was even talking about it. No one was really even talking about another NFL team. They were talking about maybe moving one to Vegas and, like, the Raiders, which it doesn't appear that's going to happen. And then all of a sudden the Chargers decide to move. I mean, I would be furious if I was a fan.
Quite honestly, the Rams might have been better off staying in St. Louis. I mean, at least in St. Louis, you get more of the loyal fan support that you may not get with football in L.A. So I don't know, but
right. And as I said,
it's just crazy.
I don't think L.A. is the biggest sports market. It's a big market. Right now you've got two basketball teams, you got two baseball teams, two football teams, a hockey team, one soccer team, and they're getting another one in the next few years. That's going to be 11 professional sports teams.
Right, and that's just in one city, and that's just crazy. The basketball teams do well now that the Lakers and the Clippers are both doing well. The basketball does pretty well. The Dodgers do well. The hockey does well. But other than that, you got a lot of teams that are struggling to fill up their stadiums.
Well, also when the Clippers weren't very good, no one was showing up.
Right. It's a wonder why they didn't move out of L.A.
I don't believe the Kings were doing that great, when they weren't before.
No, I wouldn't think
Renaissance happened.
I wouldn't think really any hockey on the West Coast was doing good until teams started getting good.
Which, I mean, now that they got good, even when they get bad, I think the fans will still show up. Because I feel like, once they got good, the fans got a renewed interest in the sport of hockey.
Right. And so it's just it's crazy. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that in Chicago. So let's move on to sort of the Bears and what the plans are for what they're going to do in the NFL draft. We saw the national championship game. It was a great game. That's for sure.
Disappointing outcome
for you. But pretty exciting for me and a lot of people who are just sick of Alabama winning. I didn't really care either way.
I will say that was a phenomenal game.
I just wanted a great game, and it ended up being probably one of the best, if not the best, national championship game in a long, long time.
Because you don't have Alabama destroying someone.
Right. People say, I think it was like 2005 or something, Texas and USC was also a really good game. That was with Vince Young, I believe. Scoring the game-winning touchdown for Texas.
That's a name.
Yeah. So I only know that because I saw highlights. I don't know anything about college football, really. But I do know it was a good game, and I do know that Deshaun Watson is a hell of a quarterback. And
he wants to keep his performance on the low so that the Browns don't take him.
Yeah. So I don't know. He seems to have all the tools. He showed up when they needed him most. Obviously, there's a big transition from college football to the NFL, but he seems like the best choice.
And he played really well against Alabama, and after kind of not the best performance against Ohio State.
Right.
I personally don't want the Bears to select him. There's a couple guys I have in mind. I don't know. What do you hope the Bears do with that number 3 pick?
Well, looking at the quarterback selections, he's to me obviously the best choice for quarterback. I'm not really too high on Trubinsky from North Carolina
Or Ben Kaya.
I don't know about him, and I definitely don't want Notre Dame. So I don't know. I think if I'm the Bears, I have to make a decision. If I'm going quarterback in the first round, which, it's kind of 50-50 on whether I want them to do that, then I think you take Deshaun Watson. But if they're not going quarterback, then I'd kind of be okay with that too. It just makes me a little worried because they don't really have any quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's expected. I mean, they might be better off, getting another high pick in a year where there might be another good quarterback. Personally,
I just don't know.
Personally, what I want them to do, I want them to draft Jonathan Allen from Alabama, defensive lineman. I think he's the franchise pass rusher that they need along that line, a guy that you could rely on to get.
Well, do you think that he's going to be there at 3?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a projected top 3, top 4 pick because it sounds like Myles Garrett from A&M is either going to go first or second.
Okay.
And I think one of the 49ers or the Browns will take a quarterback. So
I'm assuming that they both might.
Yeah, I mean, which I'm okay with that. I don't know. I can't see Myles Garrett falling to the Bears at number 3. Regardless, I'd be happy with Myles Garrett or Jonathan Allen, and then taking a quarterback probably in the second round because a guy like Ben Kaya or Deshaun Kaiser could still be there, or even Mitch Trubinsky, depending on how desperate some teams could get it. So I think you could get by with Ben Kaya in the second round, or even Deshaun Kaiser.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it'd be more exciting if they took Deshaun Watson.
I don't think he's going to make it in the end. I mean, he could be a good quarterback. I just don't want him.
I don't know.
As the quarterback of the Bears. I don't think he's the franchise quarterback that this franchise is desperately needed.
Well, I agree with that. It's definitely a toss-up, but at this point, what do you have to lose? It's sort of at that point now with the Bears. I mean, you're 3-13. You don't have a set starting quarterback. There's a lot of issues. So to me, you might as well shore up the quarterback position. I'm not saying it's the right move. I'm just saying I think if I was Ryan Pace, I think I would take Deshaun Watson. I almost said Deshaun Kaiser. I would not take him. I would take Deshaun Watson.
I don't know. I've liked some of the things he's shown. He had a down year this year, except that might have been just a bad.
It was
coaching.
A bad team, bad coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has a pretty solid arm.
Yeah, well, as we saw, Deshaun Watson has a pretty solid arm too. Now he does have really good receivers, and so maybe he's being hyped a little too much because that Williams guy catches everything in sight. I don't know.
Williams guy.
Mike
Williams.
Yeah,
for that Watson's been throwing. Not Kaiser
on Clemson. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if he's being overhyped because of that, but he does seem to have an arm as well. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I do think it depends if they're going quarterback. To me, you have to take Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be available, and I mean,
well, he might.
We'll
not
see.
Be.
They might fall in love with some guy at the Senior Bowl, like the Cowboys did with Dak Prescott. They might fall in love with some guy.
I don't trust the Bears
there.
Scouting for a second, though. That's the problem. If they do fall in love with somebody, I feel like it'll be the wrong move for them. Well, we'll see. It's just a big mess down there. So I don't know what to think. It's a big mess.
Yeah. Well, coming up after this break, we'll get in more to the NFL playoffs, and then maybe some Blackhawks, and definitely some Bulls talk coming up later on in the show.
For sure. You're listening to the Sports Renegades on SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.